Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time you listen to this. Welcome to Pace the Podcast, where we give you one step of wisdom for the long journey ahead. I'm your host, Jordan. Today I have a guest with me. His name is Brock Jones. Hey, Brock, how you doing?
Good, bud. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to have you on. I know we talked about maybe a couple of months ago about having you on. You're finally on. And
Thank
for
you for
those of you
having
guys who
me.
don't know who Brock is a father, a husband, and also him and I graduated together from high school. So I've known him for a while. And today we're going to talk about a topic that he picked. He wanted to talk about work ethic. And so I kind of did my own little research on what work ethic is. And so I looked up in the dictionary and it says attitude of determination and dedication toward work. And I kind of broke down the other words attitude meaning a position or posture, and then determination, firmness of purpose, and then dedication, a devotion slash passion. And the way I want to define work ethic, and I want to ask you what your thoughts are on this, is work ethics is the posture of purpose and passion towards one's work. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it all depends on what your position for life is. I mean, you got two different I mean, so for me personally, I would describe it as 50% 50% financial pursuit of freedom or stability, and then 50% like personal responsibility. So I think we all have a personal responsibility just as Americans, people in our physical local towns, for your family, or even for yourself. I mean, if you don't have a family or any other responsibilities, I mean, go see the world, go have fun, do whatever it is that you do. Just, it goes back to giving it 110%. I mean, I truly think that humans as a whole aren't going to get true purpose and guidance in any other way than giving their all to at least something, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And we as people, as humans, we were designed to have a purpose, to have a goal in mind. And I think one of the things that I was researching and thinking about work ethic is that every single one of us has a capacity for work ethic. Some have higher ones, some have lower ones. Some of them people don't actually use it, but it's typically because we lack either purpose, passion, or perception slash perspective. And I think the two biggest ones for me is purpose and perspective, because passion comes with the other two.
Yep.
And like we all have a purpose. It's kind of hard to do something when you have nothing to aim at, no goal to go to.
Yep.
And then sometimes it's hard to do what you're doing because you don't have a perspective of what's going to come. Sometimes we're too busy thinking about what's next, not realizing what we can do now can affect the next. And so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has the capacity to learn work ethic. I'm a trucker, so in the trucking community, we say you got to have a second gear. You got to get out of first at some point. Most trucks have 10, some trucks have 13, all the way up to 18 gears. So depends on how hard you want to work. But yeah, everybody has the capacity. It all depends on, like you're saying, what your purpose is. Passion comes along with the purpose. And I've been telling a lot of younger men that I meet along my work route, trying to push them to go to a CDL school. And I mean, a lot of it has to come down to money, right? We live in a capitalist society,
Right.
and it's a good process. I think it's the best concept that we have. But because of that, we have to work. And if you don't work, you don't eat. It's biblical.
Literally
I
biblical.
mean, it's literally biblical. There's more financial scriptures than anything in the
Right.
Bible, over 3,600. So, I mean, I think everybody has the capacity, but I've been telling a lot of men it doesn't matter what you do, right? So if you can figure out what sphere you want to get into in the long haul, so if you're in real estate, well then, I mean, obviously you don't have the experience and everything needs experience. So, just go buy job sites that are building new houses and start sweeping the floors, vacuuming, doing things of that nature. Just keep your ears open, keep your eyes scanning, and start understanding the market. Get in contact with other real estate people, go to real estate school. If you want to go in that direction, then there's no wrong way to go about it. I mean, there's so many things you can learn through the process, and that's having that second year. And then as you get some traction going, it's easy to slide into the other gears. We call it floating the gears because once you've learned it so good, you don't even have to clutch out. You
Yeah.
don't have to pull the clutch. The engine doesn't have to do anything for you. Your arm goes where you're. It's just muscle memory. So I mean, I think everybody has the capacity. I think it all just depends on if you know the end goal, you can figure out the steps along the way. And if you come down a step, you know there's no point in going back. You just go back up the step again.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I like the thing you said, which says it's not about what you do, because it really isn't about what you do. It's about how
Nope.
you do it. Because
Yep.
kind of going back to the perspective thing is, I obviously have a purpose and I want to reach that purpose, but sometimes we're in a season where we need to learn how to grow. That way, when we
Yep.
get to where we want to go, we actually have the character and ability to sustain where we want to be. It's all about growth, honestly, and I agree with you.
Yep.
Work ethic isn't about what you do, but how you do it. Putting a little
Yep.
more effort, or if you have an end goal and your life doesn't seem like you're gonna be there soon, at least learn in that season, because I personally believe that every season has its own purpose and something to learn from, right?
Yep.
I mean, if you think about the story of the Spanish conquistadors, and there's this story called "Burn the Ships," right? And so
Yep.
they go from Spain to the New World, or around here in the Americas. And the story goes, the captain tells them to burn this ship. But the thing I've learned is the better way for them to do was to take and break down the boats and use that material to
Yep.
keep going forward. And that's kind of what work ethic is. You got to use what you use, you got to use what brought you where you're at to continue to go forward.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I never looked ahead and thought I was going to be a trucker by any
Right.
means. I've been in retail pretty much my whole work career. I've been working for about 12 years now, since I was 14 to now. So, and all that's been retail. So I was actually sweeping cigarettes at Sheets, making 12.50 an hour with a wife and a kid at home and a brand new mortgage.
Right.
And I was like, this isn't going to work. And had a really good buddy that would pull in the parking lot. I just met him just as a consequence. I just never knew him outside of work. Didn't never just random guy. Hey man, you ever thought about getting your CDL? And I'm like, I didn't even know what it was.
Right.
But he kind of kept pushing at me. He was like, hey, whenever you're done sweeping cigarettes and you want to be done with this stuff, there's a opportunity for you. So I really took a long pause for a minute, and it was actually really good for me because I didn't finish college. I finished high school because I had to. But this was one of the first things in my life where I just pushed through the process. And I actually really enjoyed the process. But once again, it wasn't, the end goal for me is to get to $150,000 a year, save 50,000 with my wife's income. We can afford everything we're doing, save extra money, put money towards the house, and then literally just save $50,000 a year, So my goal in my head was $150,000 a year. I didn't care what I did. The purpose for me at the end of the day is providing and protecting my family. That's
Right.
all I care about. That's what wakes me up in the morning. That's what helps me sleep well at night. So finally, I bit the bullet. I said, all right, cool. I'll go check this thing out. So I got a $3,000 grant. It was $4,500. So I ended up paying 15, saved up some money, took a month off of work, finished the whole class. I think I graduated on the 22nd of September. By the 25th, I had a job for $22 an hour, just like that. So 1 month of school, pushing through the process. I had really good friends that helped me learn my pre-trip so I could go through, go through the class a lot faster. But so, went from 12.50 an hour to $22 an hour. That was the most money I'd ever made. And then I swapped over to one more job. So I've only had two jobs in trucking since I got my license, and I'm making $70,000 a year. So for me, as long as you have a certain concept, a lot of it comes down to having this, understanding, especially if you're a Christian, that we're all cogs in a machine working together for the good of God and
Right.
for the glory of God and the good of all. So, if you do things exceedingly well at whatever level you're at, I think there is a certain blessing on top of that kind of, long suffering and focus on, what kind of character God wants us to have. So if you just do that, then a lot of doors just open up for you. And so now I can scroll through my phone for 45 minutes and never hit the bottom. I got jobs for days
Right.
because I have a CDL. There's only 3 million of us. We're providing 300 million people with every man-made thing you see came on a truck at some point, and only 1% of the population is providing that.
Right.
That makes me pretty proud, personally.
Yeah, man. I remember when you told me that, and I was like, wow, I didn't ever
Well,
see
and
you go into that route, but
yeah, me
it
neither.
it worked out. And I do agree with you say, because obviously we all know Colossians 3:23 says, whenever you do something, do it as it is in the Lord.
Yep.
And really, it's a lesson of stewardship. It's like
Yep.
the season you have, God has given you something. And if you want to steward it well, then he'll give you more. It's
Yep.
that simple. Like, hey, like this is what's in my hand now. I'm gonna use it and grow in it. And God's gonna give me an open door. He's gonna open a door when he
Yep.
knows you're ready.
Well, the coolest thing is if you live by that second gear concept in every facet of your life as much as possible. If you make 1,000 decisions in a day and 999 were good and one was bad, then that's a pretty good rap sheet, in my opinion. So, but if you live in that concept, any job, no matter how technical or how much you have to learn or how difficult the process is, how many hours you work, how much coffee you live on, it doesn't matter. If you live in that mindset of second gear, and you got to find your motivation. For me, all motivation is good motivation, you know. So even if somebody's ticking you off and making you get in your head, maybe you get a little competitive in the beginning. It doesn't matter. I think all motivation is good motivation, but at the end of the day, you're honing skills that literally work in every facet of your life. So it takes work to be a husband, and it's having a second gear. I mean, there's days I come home from working all day and I don't want to do anything, but I have help my wife do the dishes, and it makes my marriage better. So I think it's just it's applicable to all areas of your life. You can implement it anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, it's typically when you're uncomfortable or a constant grinding is when you start to grow. I mean, what does it say? Iron sharpens iron, just as a friend sharpens a friend. I mean,
Yep.
if you're not feeling uncomfortable, then you might not be growing. And I think that's
Yeah.
like kind of what I think of second gear is like, I got to push through. I might not be where I want to be, but if I keep pushing and keep, trying, I'll get there eventually. My goal in life is to teach and to guide people, right? And so right now what I'm doing is painting, but I also work on the church on the side. And so I obviously want to go there, but I got to use right now to get there. So I got to use my time painting and using those skills to get to where I want to be. And I
Yeah.
have learned a lot in my time painting. But my goal, obviously, at the end of the day, is to reach people and teach people. I feel like it's my calling in life. And I might not be doing it 100% right now. I do a little bit at the church. But what I'm doing is I'm working a job that's not really related to what I want to do, but I'm working hard.
Yep.
And then
You're
also spending my extra time at the church, spending my spare time at the church, trying to grow and then making these videos and, having conversations with people so that one day when I am at the place I want to be, I've honed those skills that way I can be successful in that moment and be like you said, like proud of what I do because I know where I came from to get here.
Yeah, I mean, everything's applicable, So I mean, like when it comes to the second gear, like if you're working, like if you're driving a truck and you're going up a steep grade like a hill, they'll tell you, well, it's so much weight, you got to drop down to a lower gear sometimes. So when you're in that second gear, the lower the gears go, the rougher the engine runs, right? It's
Okay.
just harder on the engine, but it's steady. There's times I'll go up mountains and I'm in the second gear and I'm going 15 miles an hour. I know it's not going to stop. The engine's not. I know my equipment, but It's grinding. It's annoying. It's rough. People are blaring horns at you. It's
But you're
it's
moving
it's
still.
right. So you're making progress. So I think there's when you make strides and you hit a stride, I think like you were saying earlier, if you're comfortable, you're not progressing. It's the moments where you're hitting strides and everybody's giving you attaboys and pats on the back that you really got to pay attention. Because in those moments, it's really easy to just stay in second gear and just keep rolling. It's really easy. But if you're able, if the conditions are right, so right, if I hit a level part of the hill, then obviously the engine's going to allow me to go to higher gears.
Right.
Because weight's not on me anymore, everything's leveled out. Or even if I'm going on a downgrade and I'm going nuts, then yeah, I probably need to hit the brakes sometimes because I might roll off the mountain.
Right.
So there's a lot of applicable moments where you have to understand, you have to have situational awareness of taking your time and the times that you need to. And this comes with growth. Like, when you learn how to do podcasting, you're starting to get a rhythm on how to set it up, how to use your equipment, being comfortable understanding it. And, when you're trying new things, you try it in a safe environment. So, and that's applicable to anywhere. But yeah, I mean, work ethic I think it just goes everywhere. I mean, a lot of it has to do with what you see out of this life and what kind of aspect of growth you want to see in yourself and others. So if you have any kind of humility or self-perception of how important you are as an individual, then, at the end of the day, you're going to have a certain amount of intentionality with every step you take. And if you couple that with that second gear, you're going to find favor with men. You're going to flow a lot faster through things, but you'll also have the humility to slow down and just say, hey, look, I know enough about this topic, but you can start to see the future a little bit. Like you start to see the future a little bit and where, you could see yourself in a couple years in whatever industry you're in. So you start gearing your steps in a certain direction that's going to take you to a higher level if that's what you want. And you'll know when to back off of things and when to push things farther. So, and it's kind of difficult to give you a perfect example of that because every industry is different.
Right.
But for example, like in my industry, I just have a basic CDL. There's a bunch of endorsements I can get for like hauling fuel or doubles and triples. So having 2 trailers or 3. And, at the end of the day, it's probably about maybe $120 to get all those endorsements. And I would be certified in all these things. But realistically, I don't really like hazmat and tanker stuff because it's kind of dangerous.
Right.
And doubles and triples is very difficult to do. So then you start, for me, it's the financial thing for my family. So I'm looking at doubles and triples because it's more money. It's just more money. So I'm able to target, because I know the industry, I'm able to target where I want my end goal to be. And even though it's really enticing to go in fuel because it's $1 a mile, I know what I should and shouldn't do. So I'm targeting my path, and it's a slower grind going the way I'm trying to go. But, it relates to all the other aspects of my life. It makes more sense.
Right.
And
like you said, like it's, oh, hey,
hi.
Grayson, little special guest. Grayson, hey, buddy.
Say hi. All right. Bye-bye. I'll see you in a minute.
You got enjoying the journey. Well, if you guys didn't know, enjoying the journey.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
see you, buddy.
Grayson. But like what you were saying, like there's moments where you have to slow down, right? And like I said earlier, like life is full of seasons, and some seasons you have to slow down. Doesn't mean you have to stop, but you do have to slow down because sometimes things do get heavy, right?
Yep.
But
prioritizing.
you keep on grinding, you keep going forward, you put as much effort as possible. And sometimes that effort has to be a little bit lower because of the season.
Or strategic.
You gotta be strategic. And that's what work ethic is all about. It's all about knowing the purpose, having a goal, honestly, having an aim, a goal, and then having the perception or perspective of knowing, okay, I may not be where I want to be, but this will get me there. But also, this season is a little bit heavier. I might have to go a little bit slower, but I'm still pushing. I'm still going forward. And so, and then with that comes passion.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Well, and I mean, if part of it all depends on what your motivation is. So for me, if trucking ever went in a wrong direction financially, then as much as I like the job, for me, it would be probably a good season to make a switch to something else. And if you're paying attention to the world around you, then, I mean, you might have to make a switch for your family that
Yeah.
benefits you more. But, at the end of the day, what's beautiful about work ethic in the end of the day is every single job you do, and a lot of it has to do with your heart, but every job you do is going to be applicable in some sense, whether it's customer service, how you deal with employees and employers, what kind of push you do for the betterment of the team, So all those concepts, all those skills and soft skills are highly important for job applications and what kind of future you can see for yourself. If you spend all day, playing video games and hanging out and taking some job at McDonald's, but you want to be a millionaire, well, I'm sorry, you're not going to make it. You're just not.
You got to
So,
put in a
so
little effort,
well, I mean, you got to target your end goal with the amount of grind you want to do. If you're happy living out on a ranch somewhere in a one bedroom cabin and growing food, then you have an idea in your head on how long that's going to take. But if you want to be a millionaire or something, or even, like maybe start a nonprofit or something like that, then you should probably learn how to run a nonprofit. And that's going to take time, So, I mean, it comes down to your motivation, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely comes down to your motivation. And then, like I said, like you need to have a purpose, and you have to kind of chase that purpose too. Because just because you have a purpose doesn't mean much. You got to chase after it. Like if my purpose is helping people, and I'm not helping people, then I'm not chasing after it, right?
You're
Like
missing the ball.
you're
Yeah.
missing the ball. So, like I said before, like we said, it's all about let's know our purpose. That way we have something to, aim at, and let's chase after it.
Yep.
And then let's have the perspective and perception to know what I'm doing matters for tomorrow, but also have discernment on knowing what kind of season you're in and how much effort you can put in. Because obviously, everybody has storms, trials, tribulations in life.
Yep.
Sometimes they're
Absolutely.
heavier in a season, sometimes they're lighter. And we have to have discernment in that. And then with that comes passion. And that's where work ethic kind of starts flowing. And that's where you kind of see it when you see the passion in someone. It's like, oh, he's got work ethic. But really, he just has purpose and perception to know where he's at. And so, Brock, thanks for coming on. Super
Yes, sir.
excited. I'm glad we got to see Grayson. I love Grayson. Grayson's completely 4 now.
He's about to turn 4 in May. He's banging down the door because he just got home and he hasn't had a kiss from daddy yet.
Yeah,
So,
well, this is the end of the video. If you guys
yep.
like this, make sure to share to a friend, comment, subscribe. Until next time, guys. Peace.
Peace.